sex workers of Reddit, have you ever become emotionally attached to one of your clients, and what became of it? Former sex worker here. I fell in love with a client. He looked kind of rockabilly and had heaps of tattoos. He'd bring me coffee and we'd talk about books and music. He made me a playlist of his favorite songs and brought me a copy of his favorite book. We swapped real names and talked honestly about life and relationships. One night we met up in a bar and he hung out with my friends, stayed out all night, and he crashed at mine. We were together for about 2 years. I quit sex work and went back to university, got a normal job. We moved in together. My family adored him and I got along really well with his mother. We broke up for pretty normal reasons. I wanted a responsible partner who I could build a life with, save money, be fit and healthy. He wanted to tour with a band, drink, and party. Last time I saw him he was in and out of rehab and in some volatile relationship. I saw his mother last year and his business had failed. He hadn't been sticking with rehab and he was being charged with assaulting his ex-girlfriend. I really hope he manages to deal with his problems and get clean. I'm still thankful for the time we had and don't hold any grudges. I'm astonished by your story. He came into your life, helped you in changing it, and then you outgrew him, matured and moved on towards a different kind of life, while he didn't. People do change. I find it amazing. Thank you. I'm still the same person, even if my circumstances have changed, but he was pivotal in my life, for sure. Friend of a former sex worker. She had severe emotional attachment issues and that's what led her to sex work in the first place. She got emotionally attached to many clients, none of whom even treated her well. She says that if I hadn't made her cut contact with them and stay with me while she got help, she probably would have married one of them and pumped out babies for an abusive husband. I'm not going to get into whether sex work is right or wrong. It's important to realize though that the way it is now, it draws in very vulnerable people with deep-seated issues. I'm not saying everyone is like that, but it does appeal to people who confuse physical intimacy for emotional intimacy. It's a great job if you have difficulty keeping up with the corporate game, but it's very sink or swim for your mental health. I had a good friend who was severely bipolar and she would regularly go off the deep end. I'm very lucky sex work really helped me structure my life so I can keep my mental illness in check. It really depends on the kind of person you are. I'm absolutely astonished at how much I got my life together with this job. It looks more like a trade between physical to the guy and emotional to the girl. Childhood abuse, so I frankly am not familiar with any families that aren't described as married one of them and pumped out babies for an abusive husband, but I'm eager to find one and study it. I actually used to be and met my now husband. We met through an appointment and we clicked, as lame as that sounds. We spent the next 3 days together and decided we both had feelings for each other. I honestly was ready to move on to a new career path at that point anyways, but we started dating. I quit my profession, moved in together, and have now been married 2 years. Best decision I've ever made, and we couldn't be happier. How did you explain the gap in employment history? I only worked in the industry about a year. When we moved in together he lived a few towns over. I really kinda just started over with my life. Best decision I ever made for sure. I worked for a brothel once, not as a sex worker, but as a designer/art director, and went to interview the women that worked there for a photo shoot, discussing outfits, how comfortable they were with showing their bodies and face etc. And there was one that I really had fun talking to. I was excited to work with her on the shoot. She had a bubbly personality and I knew it would work great on camera. When the shooting day came, she was absent. Turns out she had a regular that had asked her to marry him and she said yes. Did he pick her up in a white limo and climb up the fire escape to meet her despite a fear of heights? Yes, but then he turned around and faced you. You see that it was Bill Murray and he whispered to you no one will ever believe you. A serious answer, since there's not many. I've definitely been attracted and started to get emotionally attached to clients before, but will always take a step back before I get in too deep. Part-time cam girl and escort, so I can get away with not going on for a week or skipping a date or two just to regroup and remind myself of the situation. I have also got past clients who are now friends, who I'm very much so emotionally attached to. It's kinda weird to think back and realize we met through sex work honestly. If you're okay with answering a question I have relating to the friend worker boundary, I'd really appreciate your input. One of my friends, we've known each other for around 3 years now. We are right on the border of close friends, but we just don't see each other enough to justify that term. Has been doing sex work for a while to supplement her income, and she's complained once or twice that she's not getting a lot of sales. I've known she operates primarily off of Twitter for a while, but I've never asked her for her at, just because I figured it'd be too weird for a friend to ask her for that. So I had no idea what her handle was until someone that I follow on my alt account retweeted one of her preview photos about a week ago. I've always considered my friend to be really attractive, and this past paycheck was pretty fat. So, if you were in a position where someone you were somewhat close with found your account by accident and wanted to buy some of your stuff, would you prefer they ask you in person, contact you over whatever social media you're most active on, or just not contact you at all? I've had 2 people I know from high school find my cam account and they both just messaged me and told me. I was a little shaken at first but then got over it. One of them tipped a hefty amount but neither of them ever watched my shows again. That's the only experience that I know of people I know finding me and reaching out, both of which I hadn't talked to for years. Honestly, it depends on the girl. I can tell you what I'd prefer, but I can't speak for her. I like knowing if people have seen me, but I'm pretty comfortable with the fact I do it. I'm not shouting it from the rooftops, but I don't hide it either. I'd reach out and support her if you so please. I would appreciate it if you were my friend. Different Southwestern, but I'd personally prefer if my interested friend let me know their interest in patronaging me and my content and asking for permission, preferably in over text or in person. Be sure to say you don't want to make her uncomfortable and find it important to get her input. If you think this will not change your friendship, say as much. That'd be my biggest concern. Good luck. Not many serious answers here. I met my wife at a strip club that she was stripping at. I came in with some of my friends and I saw this beautiful blonde that was making her rounds on the stages around the club. I still think this is crazy, but in my head I was like, wow, she is so confident and pretty. I have to get a dance from her. I patiently waited for her to finish her stage set. I approached her and asked if she would like to do a private dance. She never danced for me once. She just sat on my lap and we talked for hours in the back of the club about our lives and what we like to do. We had this connection that I never felt with any woman I had met in my life. When the lights turned on and it was time for everyone to leave, I pulled out my wallet to pay her and she declined to take any of my money. She gave me her number and we met up for a date the next weekend. We have been married for 5 years now. I never thought or expected to meet my wife at a strip club. She quit stripping a few months into our relationship and went back to school. Now we both have great jobs and a stable life. We have both changed each other's lives in positive ways and I love her with all of my heart. That is an amazing story. Congratulations. My best friend met his wife at my bachelor party. She was one of my strippers that I had chosen the week before. I got all our strippers to come to our after party. We all hung out for a few hours and those 2 really clicked. They both got into meth really bad. 16 years later they are still addicts. They had 2 children together, but she has since had 3 more by drug dealers and other addicts. We obviously could not maintain a friendship through all of that, but I still run into them locally from time to time. It's really sad that the only time either of them seem to be clean is when they are in jail. I was a trafficked child worker from the age of 15 to about 18, mostly serving male clients in the 30s to 50s range. It's hard to explain the mentality that goes into that work when you're that young, but I would connect emotionally fairly regularly because many of the men would be very affectionate and give me gifts, take me to the zoo or other fun places, etc. Now I can look back as an adult and understand it was all internalized trauma which made me latch on to anyone who was kind to me. As an adult I have went back to consensual sex work a few times and always had a great time. I've connected with a client who was also a sex worker and we dated for a while. The mutual understanding and respect for each other made it easy to get along, but as I stepped away from the life she and I made an amicable break. I just couldn't keep up with the emotional labor attached to sex work anymore, and with that a lot of the emotional labor she required. That's really sad you were trafficked. Would it be out of lines to ask how it ended up happening? Were you kidnapped after school or something? Or how did that happen? Anyways, I hope you're doing okay and never have to do anything you don't want to do again. I'm a male gay 4-pay worker. I've never fell for any of my male clients. Never had a female client before. That is a unicorn in this business. Although I never fell for any clients, I did have deep respect for some of them. I would genuinely enjoy seeing and catching up. When I got close enough to some of these clients, we would just hang out, watch TV and have deep conversation, maybe with their head in my lap. Easy $300 to $400 tax free. One thing I realized is that men crave physical affection. I'm not talking about sex, but holding, hugging, etc. Some would tell me no one has ever held them before in their 30 to 60 years of life. When I started holding/hugging clients after any sexual activity, it boosted recurring clients by 50%. Most of my clients now are non-sexual because of this. It feels amazing to be paid to connect with people on an intimate level. Man, this comment hits me in a weird way. It's been almost 4 years since someone touched me in an affectionate manner. While I don't think I would ever pay someone to hold me, I couldn't blame someone in the least for doing so. Last time I had a physical contact with a woman was 12 years ago. I seriously considered getting an escort just so I'd be embraced and feel cared for, even if just for a little while.